Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to show you how to sew a super cute and comfortable pair of joggers for a 7 to 8-year-old girl. This project is going to be very simple and very detailed. We'll be working with a lightweight knit fabric that's both soft and breathable. Let's get right into the details. So I've gone ahead to cut out the pieces for my joggers. I have 2 pieces of fabric here. This fabric is 30.5 inches in length and the width is also 20 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be folding this into 2, and I'll make sure the sides are properly aligned. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be inputting my crotch depth. I'm working with 8.5 inches for this pair of joggers. So from the top, I will go down by 8.5 inches and then mark. Then from that mark we just made, I will go in by 1.5 inches and then mark that as well. The next thing we'll be doing is to draw a straight line from the 1.5 mark upward this way, and at the bottom of this fabric, that is the hem of the joggers, I'm going to mark out 8 inches. Then I'll connect a straight line from the hem to touch my crotch this way. So after drawing this straight line, I'll just curve in my crotch with a curve. I'll just connect a curve at the crotch area, and in order for you to see clearly, I decided to change the color of my chalk so that it is more easy to see my lines. So I'm done marking out this line. I'm going to go ahead and then cut out this pattern. So I'm done cutting out. This is what my pieces look like. I would be having 2 pieces. When I open it up, this is what they look like. 2 pieces, 1 for each side of this joggers. So I'm going to unfold these 2 pieces of fabric, and then I would place the right sides of each of these pattern pieces on top of each other, so right sides facing right sides. So I currently have the wrong side of my fabric upward. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to head to my sewing machine and then stitch the crotch area from the top through to the crotch depth we made. And then when I'm done stitching, I would serge the rough edges of this crotch. So I've done that. I have stitched it and then I serged it. If you have a serger, please do this as well. I prefer to serge as I sew. So I'll unfold this, and then this is what my joggers look like at the moment. I'm now going to be working on the hem of these joggers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to my serger and then serge the rough edges of this hem. Then I'll fold in 1/2 inch and then stitch this down to create the channel through which I'll be passing my elastic tape. So I'll repeat same process for the other side. Serge and then fold the hem in by 1/2 inch and then stitch from one end to the other to create the channel through which we'll be passing our elastic. So I've done that. This is what the hem looks like. This is the channel I've created. It's looking so neat and beautiful already. I repeated the same process for the other side of this joggers. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my elastic tape. This elastic, I have two pieces here, one for each side. This is about 1/4 of an inch in width, and then the entire length is 9 inches. So with the help of my pin, I'm going to pass this elastic through the casing we created at the hem of this pants. So if you have a safety pin, you can use that as well, and then I'll be passing this through from one end to the other. So while I'm passing through, I'll make sure to even out the gathers so that everything is beautiful at the bottom of this pants. So on the sides, I'm going to be stitching this elastic just to hold it in place at both sides of this hem of the joggers, and I'll repeat the same process for the other side of this pants. So I'll be doing that by placing my elastic through the casing for the other side, and then I'll stitch the ends to hold the elastic in place. So I've done that. I have held the elastic in place. I just stitched about 1/4 of an inch on each side of this outfit, and this is what the other side looks like as well. Remember to even out the gathers so that it forms nicely at the hem. So the next I'm going to do is I'm going to be stitching this outfit down. So from the hem, I'll align the sides together, and then I'll stitch from the bottom through to the crotch to the other side of this outfit through to the hem as well. So I'll stitch this down on the sewing machine, and then I'll also serge the rough edges as well. So I've done that. I've stitched this down, and then I also serge the rough edges. This is what it looks like, neatly done. We are almost through with making our joggers. So this is what the crotch area also looks like. So I'm going to be turning this inside out so that you can see the right side of this pant and what it actually looks like. So at the right side, this is what I have here. The hem is complete at the moment. So the next thing we are going to be working on this pant is the waist area. I'm going to be creating a waistband for this joggers. So at the waist region of my joggers, I will make sure I stretch this out properly, and then I will measure from one side of the waist to the other side. Make sure you stretch it well. So after stretching, I have 17 inches for my waist. So this is actually half of my waist measurement. I will take note of this, and then we'll go ahead and then cut out our waistband. So for the waistband, I have here a strip of fabric. This is what I'll be using for the waistband. This is a long strip of fabric that I folded into two. The width of this strip of fabric is 3 inches, and then the length is 17.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'll mark out half an inch at the sides. This is going to be my stitching allowance, and then I would unfold this and then fold it again. So this is the wrong side of my fabric. I would mark the seam allowance we created at the side, which is half an inch. I'll mark from the top to the bottom of this fabric. Then I would head to my sewing machine and stitch this down on half an inch. So I've stitched this down. I'll cut out the excess. And we have our waistband here. This is what it looks like. It's now enclosed. This is what we are going to be using for the waistband. So when I fold it in, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to bring in my elastic band, which I'll be using for the waistband. Then we'll head to our sewing machine and then complete the waistband. So for the elastic, this band is 1 inch in width, and then the length is 18 inches. So I will fold this on the sides and then overlap by 1 inch. Then I will head to my sewing machine and just stitch this down to close up this waistband. So I'll place the elastic into the fabric this way, the mid section of the fabric. Then I will enclose the fabric just like I'm doing on the screen now. Then I will stitch this down on 1/2 inch. Take note, I'm only stitching down the fabric. I'm not going to be stitching the elastic. So as I'm stitching, I'll make sure the elastic does not get into the way of my stitching allowance, that is 1/2 inch. So I'll be stitching the fabric down on 1/2 inch. Please ensure you do not stitch on the elastic band. So as I'm stitching, I would be pulling my elastic so that the fabric can gather beautifully to form a very neat waistband. At this point, it's quite delicate to do this, so you need to take your time and then do this gently and take it very easy so that the waistband comes out very well. So as I'm stitching, remember I'll be pulling my elastic band so the fabric can gather. So please, if you are enjoying this tutorial, do not forget to hit on the subscribe button, like, comment, and then share this video. It means a lot to us. We appreciate you so much for showing interest in our tutorials. So I'm done. This is what the waistband looks like. It is looking so beautiful, and this is how pretty it looks. You can see the excess fabric I have at the bottom, which is my seam allowance of 1/2 inch, and I made sure not to stitch on the elastic. So let's head back to our table to complete our joggers. So I have my joggers here, and I also have my waistband, which I have finished beautifully on the sewing machine. I'm going to be stitching the waistband onto the waist of these joggers. So I'll do this by placing the seam allowance we have, which is 1/2 inch, on the waist of this pant. Then I will pin the waistband onto the joggers. So as I pin, I'll be pinning from one side to the other, and as I'm pinning, I'll be stretching out this waistband so it can stretch and be able to cover the entire waist region of these joggers. So I'll pin from one end to the other. Then I would head to my sewing machine and then stitch this down on 1/2 inch. Take note, I will not be stitching on the elastic. I'll be stitching on the excess of the seam allowance of 1/2 inch on the waist and then on the waistband. So I've done that. This is what it looks like. I have stitched the waistband onto the waist of the joggers all round, and this is what the pants look like at the moment. So I'm almost through with this pants. The next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to head back to my sewing machine, and then I will stitch the mid section of this waistband from one end to the other, just to create that beautiful guarded effect on the waist. So I have done that, And this is the final look of my pants. It's looking so pretty and so beautiful. This is what the waist looks like. This can be paired with a t-shirt, anything beautiful for the top. This outfit came out so well, so beautiful. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. This is what the back looks like. Any part of this can be the front or the back. And remember to serge the waist, the excess fabric we have at the waist region of this pant. Thank you so much for making time to watch this video. We'll see you in our next tutorial, and do not forget to hit on the subscribe button.